storyteller, has lived and traveled all over Europe and Africa. She says she works to live, She works to live, and that living involves things like rock climbing, quilting, photography, and radio DJ. Everyone, put your hands together for Pamela Dudzik. My boyfriend Pat and I spent a year in Zimbabwe teaching at a school. The best thing about that school was the school schedule. We had 2 month-long holidays, and we were so excited. The first month-long holiday, we decided to take a trip from Zimbabwe through Mozambique, Malawi, Tanzania, and Kenya, so up the east coast of Africa. We were just fresh out of college, so we didn't have much money, and so we were hitchhiking the whole way. No problem. We decided also to go to Zanzibar, Spice Island off the coast of Tanzania, about 40 miles. We did not hitchhike there. There were 2 options at the time. One was to take a speedboat. It's called and I'm blanking on the name, but it basically flew across the water, and it would take about an hour to get from the mainland to Zanzibar, a hydrofoil. The second option was a motorized dhow. A motorized dhow is an abomination of a traditional dhow. A traditional dhow is a long, flat wooden boat with benches and 2 really large sails that catch the wind and move the boat. The motorized dhow has an engine, a motor, a captain, to enable it to move forward and to move at a consistent speed. That boat would take about 4 to 5 hours. We were poor-ish, so we took the motorized dhow. Now, the dhows would leave in the middle of the night. We were staying in Dar es Salaam, and given that we were, in Africa for several months, we thought we knew how long things should take. Unfortunately, that wasn't true. And we got down to the docks much later than anticipated, and I was really, really anxious. Of course, when we got there, we are white, and most everybody else is black, and everybody wants to sell us things. So we get there, and people start heading towards us, when all we want to do is get to the boat. We were very, very late. But people kept trying to sell us things. People were going to and from the various boats, getting off, getting on, and it seemed like everybody's purpose was to just get in our way, when all we wanted to do was to get to that boat. Thankfully, we got to the boat just in time for boarding, and I was so excited. Pat and I, however, had not developed any sort of boarding plan for ourselves, so we went in complete opposite directions. He headed towards the middle of the boat, behind the engine and the captain, because he's a big guy, and there was a lot of leg space. I headed for the side of the boat, where there was more room, there was more air, and, I just needed the space. So everybody settled in, we got underway, it was great. We're on board, I can sit, I can finally relax for a little bit. I'm not sitting next to Pat, and I'm completely okay with that. And that may sound bad, but Pat and I had been traveling for 2 to 3 weeks, like non-stop until that time. And he and I had spent pretty much every moment together, because hitchhiking and finding places to stay, and I really was looking forward to the break, actually. Pat had different ideas. So Pat was facing in my direction, and he starts waving me over, and unfortunately I could not pretend that I did not see him. It was kind of hard to ignore. So he called me over, and reluctantly I got up. I was irritated, and also as I started heading towards him, I started feeling more and more hemmed in, getting closer to the center of the boat, and my tension increased, and my level was getting higher and higher. I'm not as big as Pat, but I'm not as small as he thought I was. So the spot I sat in was really, really small. So I was squished when I sat down. I was angry. And it turned out that the fumes from the engine were going right into my face, which somehow they weren't going into his face. I have no idea. But anyway, so I just started getting more and more irritated. I got so angry. I couldn't stand, I couldn't bear to be next to him any longer. So I just stood up and to move really quickly, grabbing a hold of the exhaust pipe, and then I was like, oh. And I let out a scream when I held on to that hot exhaust pipe. You could probably hear that scream from the mainland. But the scream, it was a primal scream because it was more than just the pain. It was all the anger coming out. It was all the frustration, I didn't want to sit next to him anyway. And, so anyway, but I sat down, I was clutching the wrist of my burned hand, and Pat was great, of course. He, to the extent possible, he coordinated people helping him out to help my hand. Nobody really spoke English very well, but he enabled people to help him out. And very, very luckily for me, there was a nurse who was towards the front of the boat. She made her way back to us, and really surprised to see that I had not, in fact, torn off my arm, which is what it sounded like when I screamed. But anyway, so she was very happy. She bandaged my hand, and more importantly, she pulled out a little pill. And this little pill, the magic pill, I have no idea what it was. But I took it because I was in pain. And then Pat did not insist I continue sitting next to him, which was great. One of the other passengers made room for me on the side of the boat. And as I sat there, whatever it was started kicking in, and I started going into this beautiful haze, semi-conscious, and I was staring all around and just really rocking to and fro, my body kind of flopping, and I stared out at the water, and there was light, and I was like, what? Is this real? Is this a dream? What's going on? And as I stared more and more, I realized it was phosphorescence, natural phosphorescence on the water, which was just incredible. I had never seen anything like that before, and actually I haven't seen it since then, and it was just amazing. But the rocking of the boat just put me into this, slumber, to and from semi-consciousness. The man across from me kept an eye out on me, which was just amazing. He was my savior. He would hold on to me if I started flopping towards the side of the boat. and he made sure that I did not fall over and get lost at sea. And we made it to the island. We had a great time, and we paid for the hydrofoil on the way back.